My name is Mani Subramanian. I am a technical marketing manager at Pica8. So today I'll be talking to you about two great tools. So one is AppCon automation tool. The other one is PicOS-V, which is a verification tool. So in today's campus, like there is huge growth in different kind of users, lot of devices, especially IoT devices. So the old trust model does not work anymore. You could have a camera, which is IoT device, that becomes the weakest link where a bot can stay and steal sensitive data. So I'm going to be talking about the solution that we offer. So what you see there at the top, AMCON, it is the command center for enterprise network, automation command center. PicOS, what you are seeing here, is the software switch. It converts white box into an enterprise switch. And on the right side, you see the NAC controller. Those are third-party NAC controllers. Those are used in the solution. So you never trust users or devices until they are fully verified. When we provision bare metal switch, we secure the switch first. That happens first before anything else. So users like contractors, they can access few servers, but not the employee network. Same way, camera can only access storage device, nothing else. So we work with these third-party NAC radius servers. HP is ClearPass and Cisco ICE and open source packet fence. And we provide the integration deployment document for you, so you don't need to figure that out on yourself. So most of you are familiar when you are dealing with a complex solution that cuts down your productivity time and efforts. So we have a easy button for you that you could use with peace of mind. So you don't need to figure out how to do zero trust networking. We provide all the materials for you. So one of the things we provide is best practice NAC configuration. And then the automation tool, AMCON, it automates verifying this NAC configuration, as well as it deploys NAC configuration on a bare metal switch. The third part, configuring radius servers are pretty complex. So we provide you the configuration. You don't need to figure it out yourself. So here is the part of our solution. For user-based authentication, we use 802.1x. For the device authentication, we use MAB. And for people like guests and contractors, we use combination of MAB and central web authentication. We support multi-host, which means you can connect more devices to one port. In terms of policy enforcement, we support two things. One is dynamic VLAN. You can put devices or users in specific VLAN dynamically. The second part, policy enforcement, is dynamic ACL or downloadable ACL. This dynamic ACL stays in all the switches. You have to provision in all switches. Sometimes maintaining can be hard, whereas the downloadable ACL, it stays on the radius server. It is centralized. So most of our customers use downloadable ACL for policy enforcement. So main thing, the policy that is applied provide minimum access to get the job done. So now what I'm going to do is talk through the workflow of bare metal switch deployment with zero trust network configuration. So before you start, power up a bare metal switch on AMCON, which is the automation controller, you need to do certain things. So one of them is you upload the image. The second part is configuration of switches need to be uploaded. So this is how we go about it. We split it into two parts, the configuration. Configuration that's common to all switches. Let us say you are configuring access switches, PoE needs to be enabled on all of them. IP routing needs to be enabled on all of them. That goes into a file called global configuration file. So you upload this into AMCON. The second part is template. We use Ginger template. It serves two purposes. You can generate switch-specific config. So every switch is going to vary some portion of config. For example, host name, IP address of specific data VLAN. So these goes into the template. And template can also generate interface-specific config because it can do programmatically. So we use that part. So together, these two are uploaded in the AMCON, and that's how AMCON pushes the config to the switch. And then most importantly, what we do is we also verify the configuration before we push it to the switch. Once you push it to the switch, something goes wrong. There is a lot of downtime going back and forth. So we verify the configuration with a virtual switch that runs inside our AMCON automation tool. So everything is verified. Only if it is good, it is pushed to the switch. And this is a killer functionality that we have. And then you mark, this whole thing ready. So when some switch comes online, it gets provisioned. So I'm kind of going to go through a demo right now. So what you are seeing here is the best practice config that we provide. So they are all color coded. So the blue ones like PoE and things like that, that goes into the global config file. And then there is, so those are the ones. And then we have security config. To configure a radius server, you need radius server IP address and keys. Those also go into the global configuration file. And the one you see in green color, that's the interface specific config. All modes are enabled. So before I jump into show you many things, I kind of want to give an overview of AMCON. There is three ways we can deploy bare metal switch deployment, which is totally zero touch provisioning. Three ways. One is UI, using the user interface, which I'm going to demo you. The second part is using API, which my colleague Neil will be demonstrating. The third part we have is you can deploy a group of switches automatically, through the tool. So these are the three mechanisms. So currently I'm going to show you the UI mechanism.
You're diving into security right away, which I think is awesome. And you're showing configs for NAC, network access control, and the systems that integrates with. That's out of the box, and NAC is right there. Like, do you have an option? Not that I'd want my customers to turn it off, but does that get deployed as part of the default new switch deployment? And you have to have the NAC system in place.
You can select, like, okay. So you can do it with TACACS, right? So that way TACACS is enabled on the switch. Everything is option.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you're just showing one of the harder configurations, just to show how easy it is to deploy. Yeah. Then. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So this is the AMCON controller. So I'm currently provisioning for a zero touch provisioning, right, deployment. So how this configuration is tied to the switch is when switch comes online, it sends serial number to AMCON. So serial number is what I'm tying here. I put the serial number here and then select the global file, and then I select the template, right? So those two go together. So there, right there, I'm selecting the template, right? So global file and template together gives the whole configuration, and the model number is already here, so it gets the correct image. So based on the variables here, I enter the host name. Also, I enter the layer 3 data VLAN IP address. So here is the global config and template, it generated, right? So this is going to be pushed. Right now, I'm verifying this in PicOS-V, which is a virtual switch runs inside AMCON. Everything is verified. So now everything is good to go.
When you say verified in this sense, this is just loading the configs onto that virtual, or are you actually going to like with that NAC example, are you actually attempting to establish a connection to make sure that the config actually works, or just that it applies?
Yeah, so what we are checking here is based on the model, right? Like you could be running a Dell model or edge core model. On specific model, the CLI is validated, so, and then there can be dependency in CLI. If there is a problem, it will catch it, but it's not functional testing.
Okay.
Yeah, the command set.
It tests the command set. However, it is a live full virtual. So it does have layer 2, layer 3. And I don't want to steal Manny's going to talk about how we now also integrate GNS3. So you could push and do true live testing there.
But here we are only checking the CLI.
Question about your config syntax, if I can ask it. I saw some interface names up there, GE, and then the, the slot and port number and things like that, I'm assuming is what it means. Are you, is it gigabit Ethernet for everything, or does the interface name change based on speed? Like 40 gig, 100 gig?
Question. So we also simulate the models based on the model. So let us say I pick a Dell model. It might have a gigabit interface or a 10 gig interface. So based on that, the name will be GE or TE. So we actually simulate the hardware model.
Oh, that's up to the hardware, not up to the, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Actually, just kind of maybe piggyback on that a little bit. Because you're dealing with different vendors from a hardware standpoint, they're going to potentially have kind of different ways that they would address those ports.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing that kind of on the back end of what you're doing. From a user standpoint, if I'm interfacing with the CLI, it doesn't matter what the underlying hardware is. It's the same formatted name across the board.
And so it's gigabit Ethernet, and that's TE, GE, XE, because we're extrapolating.
Yeah, so what, since we saved the configuration, we are looking through, this is the generated config, right? Everything is good to go. The final thing that is done is setting a flag. So a flag is set. Now we are ready to go. This is the bare metal switch. Someone powered it up. So first thing it does is it sends the platform information name to the DHCP server. DHCP server gives Amcon's URL address to download the image. So you can see here it's going into the OS discovery mode. Right there is the URL that it uses, and then it downloaded the image. Now agent software runs in the switch, communicates with Amcon, and gets the configuration. And you can see here it's completely successful. It finished. So this is how the bare metal switch happens. One of the things with Amcon is it is like a Swiss Army knife. It has a lot of automation tools within Amcon. One such thing is running Ansible playbooks. So just now we put the NAC configuration. Currently, one user comes and connects the laptop into a port. So what you are seeing here is a playbook that checks the authentication mode. So I can get the real-time status of the network using Ansible playbook. I can do a compliance check whether all the security is turned on all the ports. So our customers use these kind of things in an automated way. Like I can do it through UI, we can do it through API. We support both. So this is the playbook I'm going to run through UI mechanism. So right there, I'm running it. So we give a good number of example playbooks. You guys can easily customize it and use it. So you can select a group of switches. I'm selecting one switch and then running against it. Now you could see the result moment you run it. You can check the result. So typically dynamic VLAN and downloadable ACL. So here is the output of VLAN 10 is pushed as well as ACL, downloadable ACL from the Radius server got pushed because just now John Doe, he signed in and this is the result.
And you've mentioned Ansible a couple of times. Have you integrated Ansible right into the Amcom controller, or is that accessing an external Ansible server?
Correct. So now I'm going to talk about the verification tool PicOS-V. It's a virtual switch like a VM. You can download from our site. We will be giving a link in this presentation. It can run on any hypervisor like VMware, GNS3, all that. You can have as many switches as you want to test prototyping, functional testing. You can get it from our website. So currently, you guys know there is a hardware shortage. So our enterprise customers as well as prospects use it for evaluation. Enterprise customers use it to test prototype before they deploy in production. So it's free, no license. You can test the CLI functionality. You can test layer 2 functionality. You can test the layer 3. Especially in a GNS3, it becomes easy to test, which I'm going to demo in a minute. And as I said before, you can really simulate the hardware you're going to be using.
I was just digging through your docs on the commit model because I saw commit confirmed 60. And it looks to me like this is essentially the same transactional commit rollback model that Junos provides.
Correct.
True?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys are totally bearing the lead here. This is awesome.
Yeah, it is the same thing.
With this, is this, I guess, limited in any way? Are there features that aren't worked?
That is a good question. So PoE, right? Anything that is hardware specific, like you connect a phone, the phone gets powered up, that you cannot do it here. But still you can test NAC without PoE. Like on a Windows laptop, you can turn on 802.1x, test it. But anything that is hardware specific, like PoE functionality won't work. The second part, traffic testing in full bandwidth, this is not the one to test. It's only functional testing. Yeah.
But it's not, you don't have a limit to this can
Features,
only do
no.
50K.
No.
It's just you're running it as a VM. Like you don't have the ASICs. You don't
Full
have,
bore, no
Yeah,
ASICs,
correct.
but it's the
Yeah.
full bore software.
Yeah, everything is simulated. Correct. So what I did is I created like 2 spines and 1 leaf, MLAG, configuration, which is I'm going to test. Took it from the website and directly loaded MLAG config here. I have 1 server at the top, Linux server, sending traffic to 1 server at the bottom, right? So this is what we are going to see. So this is my GNS3 client running in my laptop. Basically, I'm showing you the MLAG setup here. There is a peer link, and then there is a lag from client. So I am going to the console of my spine thing, and then checking the peer link and then lag link. Both are established fine. So this type of thing, you can test it using the VM, actual functional testing of layer 2 in this case. Same thing, you can do it for layer 3. So now I'm going to go to the Linux server and then sending like 100 packets of ping. While I'm doing it, I am suspending one of the link, like blocking the link. So the traffic goes through the alternate path, and you can see there is no packet loss, right? So in summary, the PicOS-V, you can use it without like conventional white box hardware. You can test layer 2, layer 3, and CLI. And the AMCON, what you see there, you can automate, zero trust network configuration. And, we provide the whole solution with automation. The deployment time is significantly less.